from
Sorry.
that scared me. This like my academic brain is like, this is how the panel's gonna work. And
Well,
so
it's not even a panel. It's just a
okay.
talk. So I'll ask you guys some questions like tell us your improv backstory. Who are some of your favorite teachers? But you guys can just chat. And if I don't need to ask questions, I won't ask questions. Usually what I do is kind of highlight people and like at the beginning and you can introduce yourself. And then at the end, if there's anything you want to promote, you can promote stuff. So,
Is it live on Facebook?
yep, I'm about to go live.
I
Okay, we
never
can't.
asked you to be recorded.
I'm recording it because we also will put it on our YouTube channel.
Yeah, but I just got something asking me, did I give you permission?
Yes.
That's new. I got it too.
I love that.
I like that too. I have one
Carla's
more
very
question
considerate.
before you. Oh, sorry, Kale.
And Carla's very considerate with her Zoom.
I have one more question before we go live. Can you pop the link in the chat so I can share it on my Facebook in case people want to go?
Sure. As soon as I go live, I will copy the link and we will do that.
The link,
Okay.
that comes up all the time. The link doesn't exist until you go live. Then you can share it.
Okay, great.
There is a way though to do it. Anyway, you don't care about all that.
No, I don't.
All right. Well, I'm going to start going live. It takes a few seconds.
Is it live? Is it live?
Do it live.
Good. Should I do background or no background?
Hold on.
City comedy
Hold
background
on, it's
or
being
Not live?
stupid. Whatever kind of background you want is fine.
the background accentuates my Mitt Romney here, so I think I'll just go with the
Fox.
back here.
I want you to refer to yourself from this point on as the fox.
Mm,
The
the-
background accents my foxiness. So
All right. I will refer
Franny
to
has created the monster.
I'm so excited about this. I don't know why.
It's gonna be fun. It's just us chatting, so it's super fun.
I love to chat.
I thought like it wasn't all that interesting, and then we did some surveys, and people were like, "Keep doing them." I'm like, "Okay, all right."
I'm excited. I can't wait to share it. I hope people ask questions.
Sometimes they do, but sometimes we just talk way too much. So there's that.
I'm so excited.
I am too. It might not be showing, but it is inside.
I believe you.
it's inside.
All right, so I'm officially hitting the button, so we could be going live at any moment. It's still talking there. I'll wait till I see it on the Facebook page. And then we'll see. It's taking a moment. My internet.
It says it's live on mine.
What?
It says, yeah, meeting is now live on Facebook. We're live.
It says that we are live. Fantastic. Hello, everyone. My name is Carla Dingle, and welcome back for an edition of the Global Gab. I have today with us during Faculty Week some of our faculty members, and I'm going to have them introduce themselves. So we're going to start right here. Tell us all about you.
Oh, hi. I'm Mandy Butler. And we're gonna get the link to the chat, right? So I can share
Yeah,
it.
I'm trying to get it for you right now.
Okay, cool. I have no chill, and I really want to share this on my Facebook page, and I didn't know how, so Carla's doing it for me. I'm Mandy Butler, and I am an associate professor at Newberry College and the head of performance. So I do theater and improv. I'm a featured performer at Dad's Garage and a faculty member for Queen City Comedy.
Awesome. Fantastic. All right. Next up, we have.
I feel like Mandy practiced, and I did not.
Oh,
Didn't. I'm just a ham.
All right. So I'm the opposite of that. I am improvising this introduction entirely. No, I'm kidding. I am Franny Williams. I am also one of the faculty members at the Global Improv Project. I have known these crazy cool kids and foxes for a few years, as I am one of the performers for Now Are the Foxes. or whatever our other name is that people know us by. We are the Foxes, or whatever you call us when you write things and get confused. I'm one of those. And I've been performing with Now Are the Foxes online, doing some corporate improv work as well for corporate events online. I also teach a storytelling class to kids, mostly ages 4 to 8, and I teach them how to improvise stories with their imaginations. And it is the joy of my heart. The biggest work that I do is I incorporate improvisation and wellness. I believe that it is a core tool for helping us be the best version of ourselves as far as coping in our mental health and strengthening how we handle anxiety in situations of distress, as well as how we cope with who we are as individuals and how we love ourselves. And improv for me has been a very holistic journey of just being a more beautiful human inside and being more in love with myself and the journey that I am on as I walk through this earthly plane that we're on. But it's all spiritual and beautiful over here with my improv. And I have yoga and improv coming up on Wednesday at 9 a.m. That's with me. So join me and you'll see me all week. And next is our fox of the hour, who's covering his face because he's just so excited about all the things that I've said to get him started.
I told Carla I didn't want to go after Mandy and I didn't want to go after Franny. I can't. She said that was improvised, but I think Franny has her element.
That was really good improv. That's what I'm
That
I know Franny's such an earth mother. Like she makes everything so clearly important. I'm like, this is my job. And Franny's like, this is my purpose.
We've all been trained well, people. That's the goal of the hour. We've all been trained really well.
Not all of us.
Way
Mandy's
to raise the stakes.
Mandy's like, here's my CV and all the many things that I've done and all my accomplishments. And then Franny's like, here's how important I am to the universe sticking together and operating as it should. And I'm like, well, and I'm Kale.
Here's my background. Tell us about you, Kale.
I am Kale Evans. I am in Salisbury, North Carolina, just north of Charlotte. And during the day, I am a corporate trainer and work with adult learning. And at night, I do comedy with Now Are the Foxes. I'm a coach and performer at Charlotte Comedy Theater, performer with Improv Charlotte. Now Are the Foxes, by the way, voted, which all these ladies are a member of, voted best improv troupe in Charlotte for 2020 by the readers of Queen City Nerve.
Oh, yeah.
And I am the founder of Queen City Comedy, one of many people that help make that thing run.
Awesome. Fantastic. Well, I think most people know me. I'm Carla, and welcome to the Global Gab. As I said earlier, this is our 6th edition. I'm super excited. We actually have some folks watching every time, which is surprising to me because I'm like, really? People want to listen to me talk? But this started because I wanted to know more about improvisers. There's all these great 2-person improv scenes happening, but what excited me was the conversation afterwards. So what I always love to start with, and anyone can chime in throughout this time, is your improv backstory. What got you started in improv? Who have you studied with? Whatever you want. So whoever wants to jump in, just jump on in.
I'm not going first this time.
All right. Well, then I will, because I just have a feeling that I'm not going to regret it. And you know what? Improv is all about not regretting it. So I'm go for it. Okay, so for me, improv found me. I didn't look for it. I didn't know it was there for me to look for. I am an actor improviser, an actor improviser, wellness guide, all the things. Franny of many trades, master of some, whatever. But I actually was auditioning with Elizabeth Byland, who also does work with Queen City Comedy and Now Are the Foxes and teaches at VCU. And we know as Charlotte improvisers. And I was auditioning and she was filming me and she said, hey, you should really try improv. And I was like, no, and no inkling that I was any good at it. I love to, as an actor, I love to improvise. I look for films, I look for content, I look for shows where the performances include at least one scene that's fully improvised. And there are certain directors who really believe in that and weave that into the script. I also find the most joy on sets and on in projects where I'm allowed to improvise, and because I believe that getting to the truth happens when you're uninhibited and when you're taking different chances, and when you really, that's really being in the moment. Like, this is an imaginary circumstance that is heightened, which is all acting is. And as an improviser, to trust that even more, and just merge into whatever character you are or whatever you're playing at that moment, and just take on that world and that life, to me has always been incredibly thrilling as far as a performer. And honestly, my preferred form of performance is to do improvised work, because I feel like it's more natural. And I've received notes over and over, I'm the most natural when I can improvise. Why is that? Because you're just doing what's real. Like, it can't get any more real than I don't know what the hell to say. There doesn't get much more real than that. No one's telling me what to say. And so after that point, I started performing with the team that Elizabeth was coaching at the time, Moms Adhesive, which now Carla coaches. And so I am a former member of Moms Adhesive. I left the Charlotte area to go to Savannah College of Art and Design, where I also studied improv and performed for a bit on a team there, Moxie. But then I began to have a different type of exploration with improv. I started transitioning myself into more of a wellness path. And that's where I started really taking on this idea of wanting to use improv as a means for understanding life and the wellness and the wholeness of life. In between this time, I've performed with Cape Fear Comedy Festival. There was another one out in, it's in Florida, and what is that cute little town in Tampa, Ybor City. That comedy festival, I was in performing improv. We went out to Wilmington, which was the Cape Fear one, I believe, to perform an improv festival. And in between then, I was bopping in and out of Now Are the Foxes events and rehearsals. And I got on the team, and then received an email saying, hey, we want to have you on the team. And I said, okay, great, I'm moving to New York. So then I became an honorary Fox, which is the best type of Fox to be. And then as soon as I got back into North Carolina, I got another email from none other than Carla saying, you're back in town, rehearsals on Monday. So that's it. I've been teaching improv and for the past couple of years, and then also merging improvisation into storytelling and into wellness. And that is kind of where I'm at in life now, is I use improv as a means for spirituality and feeling more myself in situations that are uncomfortable. I don't even use it as much as an actor anymore. I've really transitioned into just like, I just want to be a whole human, and I want to feel good, and I want to love myself and my life and those in my life. And I want to help others as they are on that same journey. And I don't think there's a better tool to use for that than improv.
Awesome. Who else wants to share?
That was so great, Franny. Can I just, I was listening to her the whole time, like, God, I want to be an improviser. And then I was like, wait, I already am. But the way that Franny looks at it, like this holistic, I just love listening to Franny talk about her path. Thanks for sharing that. I'll go if that's okay.
Yeah.
Cool. So I'm trying to get my screen fixed. So Zoom is weird. Okay. Because Carla's face is like the big one right now, and I never know how I'm supposed to be I don't know how to manage my viewing experience on.
Go into gallery view. That'll be the best viewing experience, Mandy.
Thank you. That's exactly the kind of help I was looking for.
Figure it out?
What'd you say, Franny?
Did you figure it out?
I figured it out. Thanks, everybody. Because I never know what to talk about being an actor. I never know where my camera is.
Mandy teaches many online classes, performs online, and she is very apt to this environment. Zoom is just not her friend today.
Yeah, I'll tell. Thanks for saying that, Franny, because real talk, I do know what the hell I'm doing, but I'm going to be honest. So thank you. And I do teach on Zoom and perform on Zoom a lot, but I had to update. I did a New Year's Eve show for Dad's Garage, and it wouldn't let us go into the breakout rooms without updating our Zoom. And so my Zoom, everything is in a different place. And I'm just figuring out the update. So thanks for your patience, everybody. Back to my improv journey. Okay, so but seriously, thanks for the guidance because I'm such a bubby when it comes to technology. All right, so gosh, I'm gonna probably get emotional because whenever I talk,
Do it.
I know whenever I talk about how I started improv, because it's just become so important to me. I, like Franny, was a scripted actor. I majored in theater at Georgia College and State University. I was a theater kid. I loved it. But as you can tell, listening to me, my voice is a little different. And this is after years of speech therapy, years of accent reduction, trying to focus on how to be the most neutral actor I could be so that I could adapt for different roles. And I wanted to be a Helena and not a Hermia, if you're familiar with Midsummer. I wanted to be a dramatic actor. And because my heart is in, like, if I'm watching something on television, it is not comedy. It is dark and gritty and sad. And so that's the kind of work I gravitated to. But I was just not getting cast because I was not being honest about what my type was. And I was just constantly frustrated. And well, I say I wasn't getting cast. I was getting cast a lot, but I was always the wacky neighbor, the best friend, the Meg Ryan, messing stuff up and trying her best. And like, I was quirky and I was like, I want to be a dramatic actor. And it just was not, not happening. And I was always being told that something was wrong with me. I would audition and I was too short or my hair was too dark. It would always come down to me and some willowy, skinny, tall blonde girl. And then they would always choose the skinny blonde girl. And that's cool. Good for you, skinny blonde girl. Gorgeous. But for me, I was just like, what's wrong? And they would always tell me about myself because that's what theater is. Your business card is an 8x10 picture of your face. So they would always be like, your voice is too high, or your accent is too thick, or you're too short, or you're too thick, or you're too this, or you're too that. And I just felt really bad about myself in a way that theater can do for you if you're not on a wellness journey. Like that's why Franny's work is so important, because you have to insulate yourself. So all that is to say, I found improv because I was waiting tables and because I was an actor and that's what you do. And I was in Atlanta, and this woman named Leah Farmer, who at the time was at Whole World Theater in Atlanta, she was the bartender. She came to the bar where I was working and she asked for just a cup of hot water. That's all she wanted because she's sitting on the patio and her hands were cold. She was like, I'm not going to drink it. I just want to sit there. And so I don't remember what I said, but I started riffing on it. She and I got along fine. And then like Franny's story, she said, you should try improv. I work at the theater. And so I took a class, and their first classes at the time, at least, were 6 months long, not 6 weeks, 6 months. That was their level 1, was 6 months.
Wow.
Yeah. And so I signed up, and I didn't end up staying at that theater life and location and things, but I fell in love. It felt like there was a place for me all of a sudden, where the things that made me confusing or difficult to cast were feathers in my cap, because it was, we don't have somebody like you, and that's great. Not you don't fit in, but that will fit around you because it's a puzzle piece, right? And everything that you bring to the table is new and great, and we will make a place for you. Right. It was this combination of feeling like I'd found my place and that they were creating a place. Like, it was just really, really so amazing. And I was getting a lot of positive attention in an artistic way that was very meaningful. And I was getting cast, and I was getting, I just felt like I fit in, and I felt like I had always been kind of a misfit and somebody who would, just a side note, my best friend growing up, and this is why I get emotional sometimes. My best friend growing up was my uncle. He had Down syndrome. His name was Waddy, Waddy. And nobody ever explained to me that Waddy was different. Nobody ever sat me down and said, Waddy has Down syndrome. But I was very hyperactive, and Waddy was very Waddy. And my parents and my aunts and uncles, when they were busy doing something, like they have to cook Thanksgiving dinner or whatever, they would put Waddy and me together so we would babysit each other. And they would put us in the living room while everybody else had stuff to do. And they never explained to me that I probably should not maybe pattern all of my behavior and my entire worldview off of him. So by the time I realized he was different, my personality was largely formed. And I was like 8 years old when I looked at him and I was like, he's not like the rest of my uncles, like, and so the beauty of his personality was that he had no filter.
Mhm.
And he was so genuine and so authentic and so just what he thought came out, for better or for worse. If he liked your face, he would tell you. If he thought you were, like when I had acne as a teenager, he was like, your face looks like it hurts. But there's no value judgment. He's just saying what he sees when he sees it, right? And that made me uniquely suited to improv, so that when I finally found it and it found me, I just felt like I had arrived to a place that I hadn't been, but had always been. So that's kind of like, that was my journey. And so I traveled, I was like an improv vagabond. I started in Atlanta. I moved to Connecticut, had a spectacular like movie of the week breakup there. That's like what you should do in your 20s, have one crazy inferno breakup. And I did improv then in Tennessee. I did it in Virginia. I used to teach at VCU, where Elizabeth is now.
Oh, you did. I didn't know that.
Yeah, I used to teach improv there, and I got my grad degree there. I ended up back in Atlanta at Dad's Garage. Now I'm here in Newberry, South Carolina, and I actually, in the before times, before COVID, I would drive, and I made that drive for 8 years, drive every weekend to do shows in Atlanta, and it's like an 8-hour round trip, 7.5.
Child.
Yeah,
Love.
because that's where my tribe is. That's where my people are.
Mandy, what part of Connecticut were you in?
I was in Manchester, Connecticut. I worked in Simsbury. I coached competitive gymnastics. And I was working in Simsbury and living in Manchester. I was only there for about 6 months, in incidentally the warmest winter they'd had in like 120 years, which was fine by me.
I graduated high school in Connecticut, so that's why I asked. In Fairfield County. So awesome.
Awesome.
There's a lot of Connecticut improvisers in Charlotte. There's a lot of folks on the Foxes that have a Connecticut connection. Ryan, Austin. So that's why I asked. Kale, how about you? We haven't heard from you. Tell us your journey.
I would like to repeat my request not to follow Franny and Mandy.
There's only that's all that's on here, Kale. That's all that's on here.
I took a class, so.
Oh.
Oh, where'd you take the class, Kale? Tell us more.
No. I will share a little bit. When I was little and growing up, I always thought like I'm going to be a performer and I'm going to do comedy. Like I just kind of knew that from like kindergarten. I loved Abbott and Costello. I loved Johnny Carson. I loved Saturday Night Live, and it's like in my mind that's what I'm going to do later. But I didn't have kind of resources as a kid. I wasn't involved in youth theater. My high school didn't have anything really. So I got to college and I was a drama major my freshman year. And I went to the very first meeting with all the drama majors. And I looked around the room and saw all these kids that were like so into it and had done it for years now and everything. And I said, oh, I'm not like these kids. So I went down to the business department and I became a business major, and I went into corporate work, and that's what I did for years and years and years. I kind of like suppressed the part of my brain and personality that was a performer, I think. Maybe at some level like thinking, but I'm eventually going to get back on that track. I'm going to eventually do that, right? There's no path, there's no steps or anything. But I was, most of my existence was very corporate and still is. And then I was driving down the street and I saw there was a community theater here, Piedmont Players, that had a marquee out front and it said auditions Tuesday. And I don't know what it was. I'm sure I'd seen it before, but just something in my brain clicked. And I said, I'm going to auditions on Tuesday. I was in my 40s at this point, right? So this is just maybe 10 years ago.
30 years ago, 40 years ago.
Shut up. But something in my brain clicked, and so I showed up for auditions on Tuesday. I didn't even know what the show was. It was a musical. I had no preparation. I had no monologue prepared. I had no song prepared. But I showed up. They didn't they didn't cast me, but the director come pulled me aside and said, "Hey, you want to kind of come be like a stage manager and help out?" And I said, "Yeah, I'll do that." And it was good. So I did community theater for a couple of years. And my creative endeavor, really all my endeavors, I get interested in a lot of things, and I go just surface level on those things, right? So I got, a guitar here that I can play maybe 2 chords. I got a bunch of books that are maybe 2/3 read. I've got a racquetball from, the 2 years that I did racquetball. I got rollerblades. I don't know what I'm going to do with those. So I've always just kind of, and community theater was kind of that. I really enjoyed it. I really loved it. I loved the people, but I didn't get too deep into it. I did several shows, and I'm still great friends with a lot of people that I've done shows. I was on the board of the theater. And then a friend of mine at work said, it's one of my best friends, said, we should do an improv class. I heard they have an improv class in Charlotte, and I think we should do it. And I said, yeah, sure, we'll do it. We'll do it together. Well, no problem. But her schedule never worked out. She couldn't ever commit to it. She could never do it. And so we didn't do it then. And then 6 weeks later, we didn't do that one. We didn't do that one. Probably a good 6 months that it got kicked down the road. And in the meantime, I was reading a lot. This is at Charlotte Comedy Theater from Kelly Semmelsberger. And I was reading her website and emailing back and forth with Kelly. And just the way she described it is very much, she's very similar to Franny in kind of the way she talks about improv being, part of who you are and a way to connect with others and with the world. And I was just fascinating by it. So at some point I just decided, all right, I'm not waiting on you anymore. I got to go do this thing. And so that was a little over 10 years ago. My first show was New Year's Eve, 2010, I think. So it is exactly 10 years ago.
Wow. Amazing.
I didn't realize that until just now.
Congrats. It's your turn.
Yeah, and it's the longest thing that I've stuck with. I don't know why. I just keep finding like new folds and new paths to go down and new things to explore. It's kind of stayed new and fresh for me in ways that other things haven't. I don't know what it is. I can't put my finger on it. But I immediately loved the people that I met and the tribe that you fall into. A lot of people do improv. They talk about finding your tribe, and it was exactly that. It was the people that think the way I think, that just are bent in just the right way. And so I love, and some of my best friends in my life, including folks here, have come through improv. So I've loved making those connections.
Well, Kel, those kids that you ignored in the theater group, I was one of those kids, for sure. My first play,
Let's be clear, I didn't ignore them. They ignored me and I left.
That sounds right. That sounds about right. My first play I was ever in, Mandy, was Midsummer Night's Dream. I was Puck, so that's how nerdy I was. I started with Shakespeare and moved into musical theater. And then I landed in improv after having kids and working retail and not being able to do scripted work scheduling-wise. So that's sort of how I landed in improv. So how would you guys describe yourself as improv players? Like, what kind of improviser are you? I always think that's a fun question to kind of hear how people define themselves.
I want to hear how others because sometimes people will answer that question and I'll be going, really?
I know. I'm actually really curious.
Yeah, so we'll all answer it, and then we can, since we play together, you can be like, no, that's some BS. No. I feel like let's make Kale go first because he doesn't like to follow.
I was going to say that.
Oh, well,
I was going to say that too, that group mind.
How about we just say what kind of players the others are? We'll just.
I kind of like that too. But
let's spill our tea. Let's spill our tea. No, that's it. Am I using that right? Spilling our tea? Is that?
I don't know.
I think just don't use it, Kale.
I feel like that's the second time in 2 days someone said that phrase to him.
And Carla was the other one. So.
What kind of player are you, Kale? And then we'll confirm or deny.
Okay. Well, I love patterns. That's just kind of the way my brain works. So I think what I bring to it is just the ability to quickly see the patterns in what's going on. There's certainly other players that are better actors than me that are better at the collaborative process, but I can see the pattern in a scene quickly and come up with the next beat or add to it. Or so that's one of the reasons I love different forms and seeing how that works, to see the way the patterns play out. That's one of the things I love about improv, and I think it's one of the things that I feel like I'm good at. I can definitely like kind of move things forward, or I can help like put a point on a game so that we can all play it a little bit better.
Yeah.
I would agree with that. When I play with Kale, I feel like Kale is both a guardrail and a passenger. You know what I mean? In the car, like you'll always keep me from careening too far, and then you'll come in and like I think you're very supportive, but not supportive in the way some improvisers mean it, where you're passive.
Right.
Yeah, you contribute as much as you need to in the scene, and you're very active and supportive. So it's a nice dance whenever I play with you.
Yeah, Kel also has this great commitment to what he does that I wish I had like a tenth of. Like, it doesn't matter. He commits like 150%. So,
Yeah, my favorite thing about playing with Kale is I don't have peripheral vision. It's a long story involving a softball.
me either.
Oh, you don't have peripheral vision either?
Nope.
We'll talk about that. I got hit in the head with a softball.
Dry.
I was born with no vision in this eye.
A related note: my favorite thing to do in a scene is to sneak up to the behind Mandy and
Carla.
Yeah, well, on Zoom. For a long time I was self-conscious about it, so I just didn't tell anybody that I didn't have peripheral vision, and so it became part of my play style, where I would like constantly like I'm looking like and one of my favorite things about playing with Kale is that whenever I check, like I do like what's everybody else doing, I'll check, and Kale, speaking of commitment, he's doing some kind of space object work, some kind of something. He's always engaged, and I'll be like, oh my God, I didn't even know you were there.
So fun. Yeah.
So we kind of agree with you, Kale. We see you were spot on. Fantastic. We've never had like checks and balances on this show before. It's good. I like it.
Yeah, shit's gonna get real now on this show.
All right, who else wants to share?
Carla, I think you should go next.
Oh, me? I guess for me, I really evolved, I think, as an improviser. Yeah. I was, let me just get a quick laugh, improviser for probably like 10 of the 12 years I've been improvising. But I think for me, I guess the type of improviser I am right now is really focusing on characters and really strong relationships and scenes. I think those are the two things that I've been kind of playing with. So I think I guess that's my type of improviser, my style, I guess. I don't know. It's weird. Now you guys are going to talk about me.
No, I mean, I just love it. Like every time I log on to Facebook, there's a different picture of you being a different character, and like whether it be a hat or a wig or a filter. And I'm always like, what is she doing? Like, how many people live in her? No, I love that.
Like a wall. Let's see if I can show you.
You have a prop. Oh, there it is. I was like, how is she doing this? But I love that, especially in a Zoom land or a virtual realm of improv. I'd love seeing you step up your character work in a more physical way and kind of taking advantage of the platform versus feeling like, I think you can either take it up a notch or you can lower all of your notches. I think that's what virtual has done to improvisers and performers in general. You either sunk into it or you just like amplified it. And so you've definitely amplified it, and it really inspires me when I see you play. You play so much, and I love that you play so much.
I'm a much better performer when I'm not Carla, and when sometimes that's my struggle on like live improv, is I still feel like me. Whereas in Zoom, I've been able to just sort of play a little. There's this permission to play a little more and a little differently. And I had this conversation with Brian Palermo from the Groundlings. Like, if you put a wig on me, I am a different human being. Like, it's from doing musical theater and theater my whole life. It's like a switch happens. I can even do the same thing with a pair of glasses. It's kind of silly, but it just makes me feel not like Carla, and that frees me in a different way.
Love it. Love it.
I love that. One of my favorite things about playing with Carla is that you'll make all kinds of different choices, and I always believe it 100% because it feels like you believe it. You know what I mean? So we're buying into it, and it's just it's a nice way to stay in the moment with an improviser. So I love your commitment as well.
I
That's
agree. I was going to say the same thing. I think you're super committed and you're super honest in your work. You're such a truthful player, and I always, when I'm in a scene with you, I'm like, oh my gosh, we go somewhere. I love it.
yeah. It's interesting that you complimented Kale on his commitment because I definitely see that in both of y'all.
Agreed.
I just am faking it well, faking
Faking
it
commitment.
well.
I think I've performed with Carla a long time, and I remember we did a show last night with as part of Faculty Week, and I remember there was a moment where I thought, "That's 2020, Carla." That I don't know. I would have seen Carla doing that, even 2-3 years ago.
Yeah.
I think you evolved.
I've
a lot
logged in like 200 hours of training this year or last year, so hopefully it played off some. So
Yeah.
And I would say you're such a student of improv. Like I think of you're a student of the artistry in general. Like I think you love just as much, you teach, but I think you are one of the reasons you're such an amazing teacher is because you're such an amazing student. Like you really do study the craft, and it's super important to you to hone in on your craft, and that shows up when you play.
I think as a teacher, for me, if I'm not constantly learning, I don't know that I'm teaching what I should be teaching.
Right.
And so it's definitely something that I always look at. Plus, it keeps me from getting like stale, right? Like I learned a new exercise or a new activity, or I got a new inspiration from this instructor. Well, let's hear from Mandy
Oh, wait,
and Brandy.
I'm not done talking about Carla.
Oh shit!
I think Carla is, for me, an improviser of choices. Right. And that's where I wouldn't say it's like characters as much as just like a very specific choice and an intentional choice. And is that the best choice or is that the right choice? She doesn't care. She's made a choice now, and that's like it ends up being great. Carla is a lot of people's favorite performer in Narrow the Foxes. And Joe Hunsaker tells her that all the time in front of me. But several other people, because she's a sneaker upper, right? She'll just like come in, and it's not like this character that's been building for a while. It's just like this choice that changed everything on a dime. And she says she used to be like the one with the funny line, but she still has that arrow in her quiver, right? It's still like, you know what? Don't make me pull this out because it's coming now. She hasn't lost that as she's gained, I think, a lot of other things.
They're just not all about like sexual organs now, so that's good. So
Good. Very good.
not all of them.
50% still sexual organs, but
Right, used to be 100, now we're down to 50.
I've got an arrow in my quiver.
Tell us about that arrow. Tell us, Mandy.
What kind of player am I? I'm like, my face is blushing. One of my dad's garage friends recently posted on Facebook in some thread that improvising with me, how did he put it, was like improvising with a super intelligent raccoon who's waiting to beat you at chess and claw your face off. Like that's what he said. And then another one of my friends said that my style is very no nonsense, let's have fun. And I think that both of those are accurate. For me, I'm very much into this idea that you train on the front end. A lot of improvisers are not of that mindset because it is very casual and, we're funny and let's get up and let's, fuck around. But for me, I'm very much of the mindset that you put in a lot of, like, you're the ballerina at the bar. You're doing your reps, you're fundamental, you have technique to fall back on so that when you get into a show, you really can just go nuts because you have that fence around the playground. It's never going to get chaotic or confusing. It's just going to be free because your technique and your devotion to learning and being a student has earned you that. And so for me, I like to play with mischief. I like to, play with my play with my partners and surprise everybody and just follow the impulses wherever they go and trust my improvisers, my partners, to surprise me. Yeah, so I think that I like to play with joy. I would say that would be my biggest thing, and I'm kind of naughty and mischievous.
I would agree with all those things. So I think anytime you're either on camera or on stage with Mandy, there is this instant joy and energy that just, permeates. And yeah, you're naughty and mischievous, but that's what I love about you. But I do agree that there's this intelligence to everything that you do, and I'll never stop seeing you as a raccoon now. So that's
A very
He said-
intelligent person.
A naughty raccoon.
Yeah, he said that, and I was like, "That's perfect." Yeah, raccoons are cute, but they're also like, whoa.
Right. Yeah. Like you want to pet them, but don't pet them.
your fellow team member Ryan Sullivan says that's a great analogy or a metaphor. I don't know. As well. So
I first met Mandy when we were doing Global Improv Project auditions.
Oh, that's right.
That's when we first met. And I believe she messaged me privately and said, "Oh, by the way, we're friends now." She said something like that to me. And I was like, "Yeah, no, I like you, like I live for you." And we are stylistically, I feel very different in how we play and how we teach. And Mandy is very technical. And I love that, because I am very three sheets to the wind. Like, how do you feel? She's like, "Okay, you feel, but what do you do about how you feel?" Like,
and one of Mandy's students, Siddharth, said, "Oh yeah, Mandy is no nonsense."
No nonsense.
Yeah.
And
Can we go ahead and get everybody in Facebook to please describe Mandy and tell us what kind of improviser she is. We want to see everybody.
And Ryan wanted you to know also, Mandy, that raccoons do not have peripheral vision.
oh,
What?
God, I have to start collecting raccoon memorabilia until it's
yep.
in my house.
But I was gonna say, to add to your collection,
Yeah, yeah, I am very technical, and I am very like, okay, you can feel, but we're actors. What are you doing? What's the action?
what is the point?
Yeah.
And I love that you will call it. You will call an improviser or an actor in a heartbeat on their bullshit and be like, "What is the point?" But underneath it all, she is the sweetest, most cuddly, like poodle of just like, "I just love the world." And then on the outside, she's like, "No, that's like not working." Like, and I the balance of, "I love you so much and you'll make me my heartstrings," and then like, "Start that again. No, that's not going anywhere." And I love that, because I think both are important. You got to be able to call it. What I would say about Mandy is you really do push yourself and others to play their best. You are a growth person. Like, it is not about where we are today or where we are currently in the scene. It's about where we're going and how do we get there in the most effective, efficient way that benefits everyone. And I love how much you care about the relationship of scene partners beyond just being in the scene together, but as people. Like, how do you treat people? Because that shows up for you as a player, and it shows up to you in the world. And I love how much time you take to make sure that people treat people well, people talk about people in a respectful way, people are inclusive. And she's just been like that person who, in this field and in this industry, and this whole project was started because of inclusion, because of diversity, and that wasn't just racial diversity, but that was diversity, and we talked about that. What does diversity mean? It's inclusive of age, it's inclusive of profession, it's inclusive of social and economic statuses, it's inclusive of gender, it's inclusive of sexual orientation. All of that is diversity. And I love how much you were really honest about making sure that we stood up for the right things, so we could show up in this space in the right way, so everyone felt included. And that's how you show up when you play, and that's how you show up when you teach. And I love just hearing you teach. I love like watching you play. I love what you have to say about what we do. It matters. You matter, and you make sure other people feel like they matter. And I love that.
Someone else
I'm
in the audience.
seriously gonna cry.
Well, here, I'll change that for you. Melanie said, Mandy is a teddy bear with claws.
With claws.
I totally am. I think it comes from my gymnastics background and the fact that I was a twin, and like I have a twin brother. So
Oh,
yeah, having that person to just like call you on stuff constantly, like as you're developing. But in gymnastics, it's like, okay, I know you're 14 and you're having a day. You can cry, but you're going to cry and do your beam routine, right?
No, that makes so much sense. My kid was a elite gymnast for 10 years, and like the minute you said that, it was like all these bells clicked in my head. Like, oh my gosh, yes, Mandy is a gymnastics coach in improv. That's what it is.
legit.
Yeah, I always say to my students, because I teach college a lot, I say, have your experience, but don't have it at the expense of the work. You know, use like, because a lot of people go, I'm experiencing something, I have to stop. Nope, keep going.
That's what that means. Yeah.
So, Mandy, Siddharth said one of the best parts of 2020 was my drop-in classes and Mandy's scene work classes. So,
Guys, I swear,
Siddharth
I'm
over there
so
in
glad.
Improv Comedy Bangalore.
I'm so glad this is being recorded because I'm going to play it back whenever I'm feeling sad.
Well, before you do that, let's see how Kale feels about your playing style.
Yeah, no, I got some things to get off my chest.
I remember the Comedy Zone, Kale.
Oh, that's right. I forgot. First time I met Mandy is when she cleaned our clock in an improv competition. But at least we beat Carla's team in that same.
Oh, shut your mouth and talk about Mandy.
Yeah, no, I agree. Mandy's like a Teddy Ruxpin, but somebody put like the wrong tape in. It's not.
It's the right tape. It's the right tape.
Now, I'll talk about Mandy in frame of myself, right? I remember one time I was driving to a show at Charlotte Comedy Theater. At the time, you were in the cast with just whoever was available that night. And I was like, oh, I wonder who's going to be there. I hope it's not this person because I can't perform with them. And I hope it's not that person because they always do this. And then it just kind of struck me that like I was letting, who I was playing with inform the improviser that I was.
Yeah.
And I'd kind of decided or made a goal like that I should always like, I'm playing whatever is in front of me with whoever's in front of me. And that's something I've been like working towards for a while. And when I see Mandy perform, she is almost like the gold standard for that. I feel like you could put Mandy on stage with a raccoon and it would be a great 2-person scene. Or everybody in the cast, had, a spontaneous diarrhea and had to leave, and it was just Mandy on stage. It would be a great show if I don't know why I had to be diarrhea.
I know, like, thanks for that. I'm super excited. That's what's happening to me.
I think she's like unabashedly herself and comes across as genuine and authentic. And she's like, this is Mandy as a performer, no matter what the situation, what else is going on. And that's always something I feel like I could do a better job at.
Awesome.
Guys,
All right, Franny.
I can't even take it.
So good. And it's Franny's turn for some love. Let's see what Franny thinks about herself, and let's break her down. No, I'm just kidding.
Yep. Let's do that. Well, I actually want to start in the reverse because when we were all talking about kind of our journeys to improv, it actually reminded me that I went through an entire period, and I expressed it to you guys, where I was just feeling super insecure as an improviser. And I don't know exactly what happened, but I got to the point where I would be in a scene and like nothing would come to me, which is so opposite of me as a player. Something always comes to me. And that has been the gift that improv has shown me that I have, is that I can always think of something. And I don't know where. I think like 19 people literally live up here. And so at one point in the day, some of them all have at least one of them has something to say. So that helps me. I have a team up here of like 19 people who are all also improvisers and dramatics. So that helps me, but all of them were silent. And I had reached a point where it was like, I was depressed about it. I was sad about it. And I felt like I didn't belong on a stage. I definitely was unable to call myself an improviser, was unable to teach, to play, to do anything. And that happened for years. I even would write about it. And I was still kind of on the edge of that when I joined the Global Improv Project, and it actually revived me. It started with me auditioning again for Now Are the Foxes. And it was like riding a bike and getting back on, but it was that's why I think for me, it is such an internal journey. And that's why I think I enjoy teaching beginners so much, is because I have been through that place where I think when you're first starting out, you don't trust yourself yet. And you are a little insecure within about how you're going to look or what you're saying or what people are thinking or being funny or not being funny. And I think I felt all of this pressure because I had been performing for so long, and it was natural. This is where Mandy says that technique really comes in, because I hit a wall where it wasn't natural anymore. And all I had was technique to fall back on, because I literally, it felt gone. It wasn't gone, but it was good that happened, because that's when your training kicks in, because there's going to be a day where all the stuff that naturally just happens for you stops. And I'm not saying it will stay gone, but that happens to every performer. We've all been through. It's like a performer drought. It's like a creative drought. And that's why I love teaching beginners. And a little plug, I'll be teaching Back to Basics for those who want to test that out, or who are going through that, or who just want a refresher on Sunday at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's why I focused a lot on the internal journey, because I wasn't internally right, so I couldn't perform. And I would say I was always a witty performer. I loved playing smart. To this day, I love playing smart. I never believed I had to dumb myself down to get a laugh or to get a joke. And I try to avoid that at all costs. I really try to play genuine. And I would say I'm a supportive player. Whatever you say, I will fly with, which is the whole goal of the game. But I really do show up for my scene partners. But beyond that, I do trust my choices, and I am typically fine making a choice. And whether it be the strongest or not, one of my coaches said to me one time, he said, I'm a processor. I'm a process of player. And he said, you take a little bit longer to process, but he said, your delivery is typically stronger. And so if I had to explain the type of player I am, that is it. I might be slow to start, but I finish strong. So, yeah.
Well, one of the things I miss about playing on Zoom, Franny, that I loved about you in person is your physicality on stage. Like, you are such a physical player. Like, you and EB stand out, and Mandy as like these huge physical players. Whereas I'm a little more reserved because I don't really love my body. So I'm a little bit more reserved as a physical player and much more up in the head and stuff like that. So it's one of the things I love about playing with you. So I can't wait to finally get back on the stage and watch you go crazy.
Because I will. I'm crazy. Maybe that's
I have a picture of Mandy like literally upside down at the last comedy festival on stage.
Oh yeah, I was playing a roach.
See, and I would never play a roach. It would never even come to my mind. Well, what do you guys think about Franny? How's Franny as a player, Mandy and Kale?
Go ahead, Kale.
Yeah, I'm talking about, how folks are as performers and on stage. I could go on for hours about what wonderful humans they all are, including Franny. She's just so wonderful to talk to, and as a thought partner in this whole process. But as a performer, I remember when Franny auditioned. We had 2 different auditions because we had so many people, and we had a ton of people that we looked at. And out of all the auditions and everything, there was one person that everybody was in agreement on, and it was Franny. Everybody loved Franny. There was nobody else. Sorry if anybody that might be listening.
But there was like 10 foxes to all get into agreement. It was a lot of people.
Yeah, it was like, but it was a no-brainer. It wasn't even a discussion. It was just like, yeah, Franny's it. And it was because just such a magnetic presence. A presence is the word I would use, I think, on stage. She's one of the best actors, I think, of all the improvisers that I know. That's that strong delivery, and whatever the choice that got you there, I believe it, and she carries it through even outside that. Just like such an actor. I can't tell, like, oh man, is Franny doing a bit right now? Because is she actually mad at me, or is
and I do that to you all the time. I shit on you so much like that, where I'm like, oh really, Cal, really?
Oh, like right now. Yeah, no, but I just a fantastic performer, I think.
Thank you.
Well, I really like Franny a lot, which is why I decided to ask her to be my friend.
In the chat.
Yeah, like I think we should be friends. Are you down for that? Check yes or no. That's very much my style. But the reason that I was drawn to Franny, all the reasons that Kale said, but I had never met Franny, didn't know like nothing like, but she's so magnetic. But the other thing is about Franny, you're so thoughtful and contemplative and very just so generous and spiritual in a way that just draws like it's so you're just so generous with your bandwidth. Like when you pay attention to somebody, you are paying a fucking tension. Like I never feel like Franny is pretending to pay attention. She's so active and present. And I just wanted to get to know you and work with you. And one of the first things we ever did together, we co-taught we just pass it back and forth. We never even had a conversation. I don't even think I'd asked you to be my friend yet. And
No.
the way that we threw it back and forth, it's just something that I find so centering, because the way that my brain works, it's I'm always bridging the gap between like impulse behavior, fast, fast, fast. So when I find somebody, to use your phrase from earlier, Franny, who is someone who processes things not even more slowly, but more thoughtfully, more like holistically, that to me is something that I really want to dovetail and like just get in on. So I really loved that. And then Franny also though practices what she preaches, because one day we were doing Queen City auditions or something. I had a migraine and I have a tendency to wear myself ragged and not establish boundaries and say yes to everything. And Franny private messaged me and she said, and I'd known you for like 10 minutes. And she private messaged me and she was like, you just say what you're capable of doing because you have to take care of yourself. I was like, she's just awesome. And so I haven't gotten to play with you, Franny, but I've gotten to see you play a little bit and I've gotten to see you teach and I've gotten to converse with you. And I just think you're fantastic. And I'm really glad you checked yes.
So, all right,
We'll
audience.
play soon.
Friday night, 6:00. It's the day of Franny and Mandy playing together.
It's happening.
We're gonna be Frandy. That's our
Frandy.
There we go.
And like Carla, thank you for saying that, because like I didn't even realize the physical component since I've been doing Zoom. I have been sitting down, and I didn't even think about the fact that for me as a performer, because if you ask me, I wouldn't say I'm a physical performer. I don't know I'm doing it. Like you see it because you've watched me play in so many different things. And I personally am like, I'm not a fly on the wall for my own performances. So for me, as Kale said, as an actor, it comes naturally. So I would never have described myself as a physical player. I actually always was like, when physical work would come in, I'd be like, ooh, I think I'm going to overthink now because I'm, But I guess that is a lot of how I feel inspired, because if it's happening in your body, it elicits the emotion. If we think back to sense memory and just like what you feel or what you feel inclined to do once you move. So because of that tip, I will be standing for our show. I don't know how to do it. I'm going to stand up for our show. I think it's going to change my energy too, because I'm always sleepy when I perform on Zoom, because performance is a very nighttime sport. And I'm a very morning, like crack of dawn type person. So by the time we play, I'm like, I've been up since 5. So I'm going to stand, and I bet you that will change my energy. And I didn't even think about that. So thank you for that tidbit, Lovey, of saying that, because your girl just didn't pay. I just wasn't self-aware of that. So
I'm gonna tell it on Franny, because Fox's typically rehearses at 9:00 at night. And Franny's usually pretty good at 9:00. By about 9:15, because it's about 9:45, she's just like, all right, you guys keep going, I'm out.
Have fun.
But we have almost used our whole time, especially this last half hour of Love Fest, which was super fun. Do you guys have time to answer a question from Siddharth?
Is it about the inspiration?
Yeah, who's your improv inspiration? I'd love to kind of, we'll make that our last question. Who's your improv inspirations? And it can be regular old players, it can be extraordinary teachers, whatever it is. Who's your improv inspirations?
I go. Mandy, you go first.
No, I was about to say I'm going to mute myself because I live super close to a train track, so I'll chime in last.
All right,
I don't know.
Franny, who's
Franny, what would you say?
inspiring you?
Honestly, this is something that I go back to every time I think of just being more creative and playing more in performance. And I wish I had like a different example that was closer to home. But I really enjoy Jim Carrey. And I enjoy Jim Carrey because of one movie in particular. The Grinch is my favorite movie that I've ever seen in my entire life. And I watch it over and over again in the holidays. And I love that movie. And also knowing the background of that movie is he absolutely hated that experience. He was in so much pain because of the prosthetics and his eyes from the contacts. And he went through all of this training. He almost quit multiple times. He was having such a hard time mentally and emotionally. He was dealing with a lot of trauma. And yet that performance to me is spot on and seamless. And he was improvising certain things. Like there's a scene where he pulls the tablecloth off the table and all of the dishes on the table were supposed to fall off, but they didn't. He pulled the tablecloth off perfectly, which who can do? But then he walks over and he just knocks the table over. And luckily the director didn't cut the tape. They kept it rolling. And when I think of that type of, when I think of the fact that improv gives us the ability to have moments like that for me brought me so much joy as a child, and I'm an adult still finding joy from that work. And so that particular piece is what I go back to for when I'm like, the joy of what I do, the way I feel when I watch that movie is the same way I hope people feel when they watch me. It's about joy. I just want you to feel an overabundance of joy. So that is a very big inspiration for me.
Awesome. Well, I'll jump in next. I have so many like improv instructor inspirations, but I have two people performer wise that on Zoom that I've kind of encountered this year that are really inspiring me for different reasons. One is George of the Mountains, who plays on one of the global teams, but there's just this joy in him that just like I can come to rehearsal and I'm just exhausted and I'm like, oh, and then he comes on and it just lights his joy and passion for improv. He's doing things at like 2 a.m. Like that is so inspiring and uplifting for me. The other one is Michelle Gilliam out of Improv MKE. There's just this quiet brilliance about her, and like she just, if you watch her perform, it's literally just, I hope she doesn't take this offensively, it's literally just her head on the screen. Like we don't see, we always joke around that she doesn't even have anything from here down. She's just like a bust. And it's just utter brilliance. Sometimes I sit there in awe when I watch her, and when I play with her. It's just these like gems that come out of her in this really controlled way that just feels so authentic. So those are two people that inspire me recently. So many teachers I could go on for forever, but I'll leave those two folks. Who else? Mandy's going last, Kale, so it's on you.
Well, she can go. Her train pass. Oh,
I can go the train pass. I live at like an intersection of two train tracks. So it's a lot, but they're gone. Okay, so this is gonna sound really airy-fairy and kind of Pollyanna, but
do it.
My biggest inspiration, it kind of goes a little bit with what Franny said. My inspiration, for first and foremost, is always the audience, because I think about all of, to me, I have a tremendous responsibility of the audience, even if they are not paying, but especially when they're paying. When I think about somebody paying the ticket price, getting in their car, going to a theater and sitting down and watching, when they could sit home and they could literally have entertainment in the palm of their hands. They could watch. There's so many ways to entertain yourself now, that for somebody to do that, I really feel like it's because I think of a lot about what my pediatrician said to my mom about cravings. If Mandy's craving something, it's because her body isn't getting enough of a nutrient, because it's a nutrient or a vitamin. And so really listen to those cravings. So I think about, what is the audience craving to get them there?
yeah.
And they're needing to sit together and have an experience while they're watching the audience have an experience, or watching the improvisers have an experience, right? So it's a collective journey that everyone's going on. And I find that to be incredibly inspirational. Even if they're just watching on Zoom, thanks for not watching Hulu or Netflix or these other things. Thanks for coming here, right? When you didn't have to. And what is it that you need? And I think about what the deficit is, and that's the bar that I set. It's never, nobody's ever like, I didn't get enough politics today. I need to hear some of that. I didn't get enough racial slurs. I didn't get enough hate. I didn't get, nobody ever thinks that. So it really causes me to elevate my play because I'm trying to meet that craving. My other inspirations, just improv wise, are the people I've worked with from Bay Area theater sports, like Steve Kiernan and Rafe Chase and Tim Orr, Regina Saizi, and then also Joe Bill, who's just really wacky and dark and twisted and believable and lovely.
Awesome. Awesome. Kale.
Well, I would just say, teaser alert, you may see some Joe Bill hanging around Queen City Comedy in the first quarter of this year.
Ooh.
That's my friend.
All right. Who inspires you, Kale, other than me, of course?
That's not, you're not wrong. Carla not only inspires me, but in a lot of cases keep me going. There'd be no Queen City Comedy without Carla. That's the truth. It's moments, I think. There's a lot of people that I could kind of point to and like different things that I go, man, I really admire that. Or like I described Mandy earlier, like, man, that makes me want to do more and do better. I think last night, the show that we did with a lot of the performers, the joy that Franny mentioned was like so present in those performers. And you could sit back and think they didn't know each other. They haven't played together before. This is awkward. I wasn't a great host. And these games that I put together are stupid. And they're having to do it through a computer. There's so many reasons not to be able to find the joy in improv, but man, it comes across in waves. And there's a lot of moments like that have given me inspiration in 2020. Some of our Fox's rehearsals, I walk out going, oh man, this is why I do it. I don't care if we ever do a show. Let's just get together and do that. The Bat Boys podcast we record every week is this. Sometimes I would leave there and I just go, man, that was so fulfilling and inspiring. And I hear people say, oh, you can't do improv through Zoom or virtually. And on the one hand, I want to say, I get it, and everybody's got a different experience and it's a heavy year for a lot of people. But on the other hand, I want to just say, get your head out of your ass, man. You're cutting yourself off from a joy that other people are finding. And so I think both of those things can be true. The other thing I'll share, this is completely separate, but kind of a moment of inspiration was when I went to Chicago, not long after I started doing improv. And this improv in Charlotte, when I started 10 years ago, was very different than what it is now. I think nobody see. I work in Atlanta frequently, and so every time I would go on my work trip, I would go to one of the theaters there, and it was interesting. I won't say the other names, but I'd go to one theater and go, okay, yeah, they're doing improv too. Yeah, they're doing improv too. And every time I'd go to Dad's Garage, I would leave going, I don't know what they're doing, but that's different than what I'm doing. I want to go back and do more of what Dad's Garage is doing. But I went to Chicago, and I went to Annoyance, and I went to IO, and I went to Second City. What I noticed was like, that's the same player at Second City that I saw at Annoyance last night. What are they doing going to a different theater? And so I came back to Charlotte with like a fire in my belly. Like, I need to find out more about what's going on and create some connections for myself. And it was after that trip that I auditioned for Improv Charlotte. I'd only ever done Charlotte Comedy Theater before that. And then I became a part of Improv Charlotte. And then since then, I think it's very different now than what it was then, I'll say.
Yeah, we're about to come on our 4-year anniversary of the first Queen City Comedy Experience. It's like a week or so from now. Yeah, and that's where we really started building that community in Charlotte, which has really changed, I think, just the layout of improv here, and has really helped create so many connections in the Carolinas, but then boosted us into this global connection. And it's just been amazing in 2020 and in the 5 days in 2021 to play with people all over.
Yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right. In that 2017 event, which we just kind of threw together in a few weeks, it was a lot of times the first time people in different improv groups in Charlotte had seen each other play. Forget played together, but had even seen the other groups play. And so just the connections that were created organically after that, I take some pride in helping cause that, or at least facilitate the environment. And so now when I think about what we've got coming up with the Everybody Get In Here festival at the end of January, that's got, that's connected to Improv MKE and Improv Boost and Black Improv Alliance and a bunch of others. I feel like that's kind of cousins to that same kind of feeling where you're seeing those connections that didn't exist before. That just multiplies. It halves the work that nobody likes and it multiplies the joy, I think.
Yeah, and the festival at the end of the month, I'll just sort of go into that, is Everybody Get In Here. It's the 24th of January through the 31st. It includes Huge Theater, which is huge, out of Minnesota. Lancaster Players. I know we keep making these huge puns. I'm sorry. Black Improv Alliance. Will Luera out of Sarasota, Florida. So just some great folks that are really wanting to play together and create a community, literally a global community, where we're just uplifting what people are doing. And part of this festival is just highlighting things that are already happening. So there's an LGBTQIA jam that we're going to promote. There's a English as a second language jam that we're going to promote. So it's just really like uplifting each other versus competing with each other. Okay. And I think for me in 2020, one of the things I learned from some of the big houses, that's what I'm going to call them, is that we weren't taking good care of each other, even in the houses themselves, much less the competition aspect, and really taking that out of this is what we're kind of trying to do. So yeah, why don't we sort of wrap up there, and I'll let everybody.
Do you have something?
I just, were you going to do a final thoughts prompt, Carla?
Yeah, I was going to say, well, we'll start with you, Mandy. Give us some final thoughts and then share anything that's upcoming for you that you would like to promote. Yeah, go ahead.
Awesome, thanks. I didn't want to, okay. So if you, Saturday at 10 a.m. Eastern time, I start a new improv scene work class, and there's still space for that. I'll try to drop the link for the class in the Facebook chat after we get off if you're still logged on, but you can also go to Queen City Comedy's page and figure that out. I'd love to have you in there. 10 a.m. Eastern time. It starts this Saturday. The other thing I wanted to leave as a final thought is piggybacking off of something Kale said when he so elegantly and eloquently said, get your head out of your ass. These are all, because I'm a theater nerd, these are all the things, the different ways that we did theater. And every time we pivoted, every time people thought theater was dead, whether it was, and this isn't, the chronology is a little faulty because I was writing it fast, but there's vaudeville, radio, silent film, talkies, or what we know as film. Then there's TV, there's streaming like Netflix shows, and then there's the web, right? This is just our latest pivot. And we have to be willing and ready and enthusiastic about this adjustment so that theater keeps doing what it always has needed to do, which is provide that universal human experience. So that's all I wanted to say.
Wow. Follow that, Franny. What you got?
What she said.
You have to have visual aids too. You have to have visual aids now. The bar keeps getting higher.
I have a class, and the class is on Wednesday. See? And it's at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And that is, that's the part though. Wednesday, 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, yoga and improv. I am also a wellness guide and yoga teacher and owner of Guided Surrender, which also has Guided Surrender Wellness Studio. I teach all virtual yoga classes to people all over the world. And I use improv in it every day because unlike what they teach you when you're training, I don't pre-plan my classes. Why? Because you might show up wanting something that I didn't plan for. And yes, we could just adapt, but I like to go off connection and what's in the room. And I'm going to teach you how to do that for yourself when you're doing your yoga at home and when you're on your spiritual journey at home, and what that means, how you even improvise your own intention to fuel your practice, as well as how you improvise your flow. And so that's what we're doing on Wednesday as a part of Faculty Week. It is a free class. It is my love and my gift to you and my contribution to the faculty here that they have accepted that this is also a role that I serve. And then secondly, there is a Back to Basics class, workshop happening Sunday at 11 a.m. And it's just like I talked about before. If you've got a little bit, I'm sorry, like the sun is deciding to be very in my life today, which I love. It's chasing me. Yoga, I'm sorry, Back to Basics is on Sundays on Sunday at 11. It's a workshop and it's all about getting back to the basics. Why do we go back to the basics? Because of what Mandy was talking about. It's that technique that we fall back on. It's not always just going to come naturally. And you might have been playing for years and feel like it's not, you just feel like you need to fall back on some stuff. You need to redo some stuff. You need to get back in there. And then you also might be in a situation where Kale was when he went to that theater that first time to I just want something. I don't even know what I want. I don't even know what I'm here for. And I don't know what you have, but I want something. If you want something, there is something that you can get. All you need to do is be willing to show up to receive it. It's already packaged. We want to give it away to you. You have to come and pick it up though. And so sign up for the workshop. I plan on doing workshops more consistently than classes because it works better for my schedule. So if you like workshops, if you're interested in seeing more workshops like that, please let us know. And I'll be happy to to show those offerings. So again, I'm Franny Williams and I want you to love yourself and use your yoga and I didn't mean to say use your yoga. I meant to say use what you have learned from improvisation to fuel your understanding of yourself. And that will create self-love and abundance in your heart. And because of that, you will radiate joy unconsciously. You won't even know you're doing it. And so be the joy, play on, and have fun. With love.
Kale, you got to follow both of those.
I would again like to reiterate that I don't want to follow that. Also love yourself. And no, I love Mandy's point about how things have changed. And what's amazing is each time those theater change into a different format, it was at first just a copy of before, like television was just trying to do what radio was doing, but
right.
But once people like got comfortable with the medium, it exploded into something completely different. So I'm excited to see what's coming next. Speaking of what's coming next, here's my visual aid. If you could
that's me and Carla on the bottom.
That's right. This is just some of what's coming up in Queen City Comedy in the first quarter. I dropped a link in the Facebook chat that you can sign up for what's already out there. Some of this hasn't even been announced yet, but
I love it.
Coming up this Saturday, that's TJ Jagodowski of TJ and Dave fame. We got a comedy conversation with him. We got classes that you can sign up with now.
There's Franny.
There's Franny. There's Jen, who's doing the Herald with us now. What did I do? I'll say Queen City Comedy, what fuels what we're able to do is the income from the workshops and the classes. We don't
you can also PayPal Queen City Comedy or Venmo if you would like to tip us or support the company. You don't have to, but that's our virtual hat if you want to put anything into it.
She's so good. Look at us together.
That's our teacher. She always makes sure we have the classroom supplies.
So so even if you're not able to sign up for one of the paid events, then if you would just share that with somebody else, help promote and get that going. We got Joe Bill coming up. That's going to be announced soon. Over in the corner, you see we've got this is Laura Hall and Rick Hall. Laura from Whose Line Is It Anyway fame is going to do some stuff with us. Kevin McDonald next Saturday. He's been doing a sketch workshop with us, writer's room, and they're going to have a showcase next weekend. So lots of great, exciting things to come, including at the end of the month, Stephanie and Stephen. So yeah, lots happening.
Awesome. Well, Kale forgot to promote that he is teaching a workshop this Saturday at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. It is free to spend 1 hour with Kale Evans. So I highly recommend you signing up.
And worth every penny. Worth every penny.
Worth every penny. I have no visual aids. I'm sorry. But if you guys are interested, I am teaching several classes with Queen City Comedy. My favorite is Improv for Actors, which I think Mandy and Franny both touched on a little bit. That starts this Saturday. That's an 8-week class because 6 weeks just wasn't long enough. And with a showcase at the end, as well as I teach an advanced lab where you come in and you say, these are the things I need to work on. And I help do some exercises to help you kind of move yourself along in that way. So it's sort of a self-diagnosed class, and that starts this Saturday as well. So much going on during faculty week, including board game nights, which have been super fun. People have really enjoyed those. So check out our Facebook page. But what inspires me, and my final note, is working with these fabulous people and improvisers all over the world is a joy that 2020 has brought me, despite all the things that 2020 has brought. That is some joy that I have found. And hosting these little shows and chatting with improvisers has been just exceptional. So thank you all for your time. Thank you all for saying such lovely, nice things to each other. We'll be back with the Global Gab during the Everybody Get In Here festival. So stay tuned for that. That'll be that last week of January. I haven't decided my guests yet, so it might be a surprise. We'll see. Usually I'm a planner, but I took a vacation, so no planning yet. So with that, we're going to say goodbye. Everybody wave, and we're going to see you guys at our next one.
Thank you.
Bye.
Ciao.
Bye.